For decades, The Sixth Sense has been celebrated as one of the greatest films ever made. It shocked the world with its storyline and delivered a plot twist so earth-shattering that it changed the way movies were seen. Viewers left theaters speechless, replaying every scene in their minds, trying to piece together what they had just witnessed. Yet behind the flawless final product that fans admire so much, the journey of making the film was anything but simple. The cast and crew faced challenges, doubts, and unexpected turns that could have derailed the project entirely. The actors and director have opened up about what happened in the years since, from the struggles of getting the script accepted in Hollywood, to Bruce Willis taking on the role under unusual circumstances, to the emotional weight young Haley Joel Osment carried on set. The behind-the-scenes story is filled with revelations. Stay tuned as we reveal genuine moments from the cast, like the time an actress experienced real supernatural activities, the clever use of color that most viewers missed, and the unexpected improvisations that shaped key scenes. Even the filming locations carry hidden meanings that are only now being explained. So what really happened behind the curtain of this masterpiece? Buckle up, because what you are about to discover might just change the way you see The Sixth Sense forever. The script nobody wanted. It is hard to believe now, but the script for The Sixth Sense was almost left behind in Hollywood's massive pile of forgotten stories. When M. Night Shyamalan first pitched the idea of the screenplay, studios were hesitant. Executives thought the story was too slow and not flashy enough for an audience hungry for action films in the late 1990s. The supernatural plot was considered too risky, and the idea of centering a story around a troubled child who could see dead people did not immediately excite decision-makers. Shyamalan himself admitted in later interviews that he faced rejection after rejection. He was told to rewrite, to add more action. He said, "The first draft was bad, so I threw it out and started again on page 1. Second draft, the same thing, I threw it out page 1 again." He further said, swear to God, I remember I had this Sixth Sense idea years before and I put it away, 'cause I heard they were making Casper. Swear to God, I was like, well, there goes that." When the script finally landed at Disney's Hollywood Pictures, an executive named David Vogel believed in it so strongly that he bought it. Shyamalan was given the chance to direct his own script, something almost unheard of for a writer at the time. Haley Joel Osment, who would later play the character Cole, said in one interview that reading the script and acting the role at such a young age felt different. Even he sensed its weight. Looking back, what seemed too risky for studios became one of the most iconic screenplays in film history. The rejections now serve as proof that some of the best stories rarely get told. The Disney executive who bought the script was fired. One surprising story from the making of The Sixth Sense involves the business side of movies. Before the film was made, Walt Disney Studios owned the rights to the script. At that time, the president of the studio was David Vogel. Vogel read the script and was very impressed. He believed in M. Night Shyamalan's idea and wanted to make the movie exactly as Shyamalan imagined it. Without asking his bosses, Vogel paid $2,250,000 for the rights to the story. He also promised that Shyamalan could direct the movie himself. This decision shocked many people at Disney. Vogel's superiors were not happy because the deal was expensive and unusual. Spending such a large amount on a script and giving a young director complete control was seen as risky. Studio bosses felt that Vogel had gone too far without consulting them. When they found out, they were furious. They demanded that Vogel give up some of his authority at the studio. Vogel refused to change his decision. He wanted to support the director and the project he believed in, but Disney was not willing to let this stand. As a result, David Vogel was fired from his position. The news surprised many in Hollywood because it is rare for a studio executive to lose a job over supporting a single movie. Despite the drama behind the scenes, Vogel's decision turned out to be important for the film. Giving Shyamalan control meant that the director could make the movie exactly how he envisioned it. That trust helped The Sixth Sense become a huge success and one of the most memorable films of the 1990s. It also shows that even though movies involve business and money, believing in a story and the people who tell it can sometimes make all the difference. It was part of a settlement with Disney. Before The Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis had a difficult experience with Disney on a movie called Broadway Brawler. He was supposed to star in it and help produce it too. However, things went wrong very quickly. Less than 3 weeks into filming, Willis had disagreements with the crew and even the director. He ultimately fired many people, which caused numerous problems. The production could not recover, and Disney had to stop making the movie. This meant the studio lost a huge amount of money, approximately $17,500,000. Because of this big loss, Bruce agreed to sign a contract to star in 3 more films for the studio. Part of the money he earned from these films would help cover the losses from Broadway Brawler. This kind of agreement is called a settlement. The first movie in the contract was Armageddon, which came out in 1998. After that came The Sixth Sense, and the third movie was The Kid. This 3-movie agreement was an important part of Bruce Willis's career at the time. It also showed how big studios and actors sometimes collaborate to address problems when a movie fails. Even though Broadway Brawler did not succeed, the settlement allowed Willis to star in successful films afterward, including one of the most famous thrillers of all time, The Sixth Sense. The story reminds us that when making a good movie, there are often real-life challenges, agreements, and negotiations that help make it possible. Bruce's work on The Sixth Sense was part of this larger story. Real acting fear tricks. Haley Joel Osment was only 11 years old when he played Cole in The Sixth Sense, yet his performance stunned the world. Many people thought such a young actor could not possibly deliver so much emotion and fear. But Osment was not like other child actors. He explained in interviews that he did not just act scared, he genuinely felt scared. He placed himself in the character's shoes and imagined what it would really feel like to live with such a terrifying gift. This mental preparation enabled him to react with genuine fear, sadness, and wonder, rather than simply feigning emotions for the camera. On set, the ghosts that frightened Cole were just actors in heavy makeup, waiting around in normal clothing between takes. Some were even joking and sipping coffee moments before filming. Director M. Night Shyamalan noticed Osment's dedication early on. He gave him space to build his emotions before filming intense scenes, treating him as a professional actor rather than a child. Bruce Willis, who played Malcolm, also respected his method and allowed Osment to stay in character. The result was one of the most iconic child performances in cinema history. Osment's natural ability to turn everyday set moments into chilling, emotional performances became the most powerful part of The Sixth Sense. He made his fear so convincing that the movie's famous twist and ghostly atmosphere may not have carried the same power if he hadn't. Filming technical specs. The Sixth Sense is remembered not just for its story, but also for its amazing cinematography. The way a film is shot can change the entire mood, and director M. Night Shyamalan wanted the movie to feel like a work of art. To achieve this, the movie was filmed using 35mm film. The crew also used special cameras called Panavision Panaflex Millennium. These cameras were some of the best in Hollywood at the time. Paired with Panavision Primo lenses, they gave each shot sharp detail while keeping the atmosphere soft and natural. The choice of lenses also allowed the camera to capture characters' faces very closely. The final aspect ratio of the movie was 1.85 to 1. This simply means the picture was shaped slightly wider rather than taller. It filled the theater screen without being too stretched. That frame size was perfect for the cinematic vibe it gave. Shyamalan and his team also chose to keep the camera movements slow and steady. This technical choice created suspense because nothing was ever rushed. Shots were intentionally long enough to make viewers notice details. Sometimes without realizing those details were clues for the twist ending. All these filming choices, film stock, cameras, lenses, and framing, were what made The Sixth Sense memorable. These choices made the story feel both beautiful and haunting at the same time. And even after decades, it is still regarded as a cinematic masterpiece. Avoiding cheap jump scares. When people think of scary movies, they often picture loud noises, sudden flashes, or monsters jumping out from nowhere. These are called jump scares, and they are used in many horror films. The director M. Night Shyamalan, however, did not want that type of trick for the movie. In interviews, he explained that he believed true fear should come from characters, their emotions, and the connections between them. The fear in The Sixth Sense comes from silence, stillness, and the suspense of what you think might happen next. For example, in scenes where Cole walks slowly through a hallway or stands frozen in a doorway, the audience feels the tension building. The ghosts do not jump out loudly with music crashing. They simply appear calm and move eerily, which makes the moment even scarier. Shyamalan's approach meant that the actors had to carry much of the weight. Every scare was tied to the story of a boy who could see the dead, not to random noises or shadows. This choice also made the film stand out from other horror movies of its time. Instead of giving the audience a few quick frights, it created an atmosphere of unease that lasted long after the movie ended. By avoiding cheap jump scares, Shyamalan made a film that felt deeper, more emotional and more haunting, something that viewers would never forget. Bruce Willis as mentor. Bruce Willis was already one of the biggest stars in Hollywood when he acted in The Sixth Sense. At the time, Haley Joel Osment was only 11 years old, and many young actors might have felt nervous working alongside someone so famous. Yet on set, Bruce did something that left a lasting impression. He treated Haley the same way he would treat an adult. Instead of talking down to him or brushing him aside, Bruce listened closely to Haley's ideas and respected the way he worked. In interviews, Haley has said that Bruce always showed him kindness. This respect helped Haley feel more confident in his role as Cole, the boy who could see ghosts. It also made their scenes together more natural, because the friendship between their characters grew out of a real trust behind the camera. Another surprising fact is that Bruce stayed in touch with Haley long after the film was over. Years later, when Haley was no longer a child actor, Bruce would sometimes leave him voicemails just to check up on him. It showed that Bruce genuinely cared about him. This mentorship highlights an important truth about The Sixth Sense. The film was not just built on cameras and scripts, it was built on relationships. Bruce's decision to treat Haley with respect helped create the strong bond we see on screen, making the story even more believable and powerful. Tiny clues hidden in plain sight. One of the reasons The Sixth Sense became so legendary is that it planted clues right in front of viewers without giving away the twist too soon. These details were carefully built into the movie through design, performance, and even camera choices. Take Malcolm, the character played by Bruce Willis. After his opening scene, you rarely see him physically open a door that someone else has just used. He seems to drift from room to room in a way that feels normal on first watch, but after the twist, you realize it makes sense, because he is not really alive. There are also moments where people, especially his wife Anna, act strangely around him. At first, you might think she is just upset or distant in their marriage. She sits quietly, avoids speaking, and sometimes looks as though she is ignoring him. In truth, she does not even see him. Those small choices in acting were subtle hints hidden in plain sight. The filmmakers also used lighting and camera angles as silent storytellers. Scenes with Malcolm often use cooler tones or shadows, while Cole's moments of truth appear brighter. This contrast helped shape the mood without spelling out the secret. Donnie Wahlberg's transformation for a brief role. One of the most surprising performances in The Sixth Sense came from Donnie Wahlberg, who played Vincent Gray, the disturbed former patient of Dr. Malcolm Crowe. Before this role, Wahlberg was a member of the pop group called New Kids on the Block. No one really expected him to deliver such a haunting performance, and that shock made the opening scene unforgettable. To prepare for the part, Wahlberg went to extreme lengths. He lost more than 40 pounds just so he would look fragile, sickly, and worn down. Friends and colleagues at the time described him as almost unrecognizable. This dramatic change was not achieved with makeup tricks. Wahlberg starved himself and pushed his body to dangerous limits, all because he wanted to deliver the best performance. Beyond the weight loss, Wahlberg also used method-style acting to stay connected to the mindset of his character. He deliberately avoided daily comforts. On some days, he wore old, unwashed clothes to feel dirty and neglected. He also walked through the streets with very little money, refusing to eat properly, so that he could experience desperation in a real way. Even his routines were disrupted as he tried to erase the comfort of his celebrity lifestyle. Though Wahlberg appeared for only a few minutes, his raw, unsettling presence gave the film its shocking intro. Many fans agree that his transformation was one of the best they have ever seen of a character that wasn't even a main cast member. Michael Cera almost played Cole. When people think of The Sixth Sense, the first image that usually comes to mind is young Haley Joel Osment, whispering his most famous line. It is hard to imagine anyone else in that role. However, few fans know that another actor came close to being cast as Cole Sear. That actor was Michael Cera, who would later go on to star in Arrested Development and Superbad. At the time, Cera was still very young and fairly new to film auditions. He auditioned for director M. Night Shyamalan, giving his own take on the troubled boy who sees ghosts. According to Shyamalan, Cera's performance was good, but it wasn't what he was looking for. Cole needed to appear deeply haunted, weighed down by fear, and isolated in a way that made viewers ache for him. Cera's natural warmth worked against that requirement. The casting team kept looking. Liam Aiken, another talented child actor, was also considered, yet his family ultimately declined the opportunity, leaving the role open. That decision would change film history. When Haley Joel Osment entered the audition room, everything changed. Shyamalan and the casting team immediately felt he was the right choice. It is fascinating to imagine how different the movie might have felt with Michael Cera as Cole, but I guess we'll never know. The scene that was judged too scary and the soundtrack. When making The Sixth Sense, not every idea made it to the final cut. Shyamalan first wrote a scene that was meant to scare the audience a bit more. In this version, young Cole would look out through a window at a hospital and see people who were badly injured, disfigured, and scarred. The moment was supposed to underline the pain Cole felt when ghosts appeared to him, but it ended up feeling too disturbing. Test readers and early viewers reacted strongly, saying that it took the story into a place of shock rather than emotion. Shyamalan did not want the audience to be repelled or pulled out of the story. His main focus was always that the fear should be tied to feelings, relationships, and the sadness of the characters, not just to scary images. So he decided to remove the scene completely. This cut shows how carefully the film was shaped. Shyamalan wanted a balance where people would feel scared but also moved. If the hospital scene had been included, it could have changed the movie's entire tone. Fans would remember horror over heartbreak. By leaving it out, the film stayed haunting yet deeply emotional. During the early stages, some of the cues written for key moments were a little too heavy. They hinted at something unusual about Malcolm Crowe, played by Bruce Willis. Test screenings showed that certain musical pieces made people suspicious that Malcolm was not really alive. Viewers did not know the full truth yet, but the score was almost guiding them to guess before the twist was revealed. Shyamalan realized this was a serious issue and immediately rewrote parts of the score, softening moments and keeping some passages softer than normal. Instead of telling the audience what to think, the final soundtrack left space for mystery. A slow start at the box office. When The Sixth Sense premiered in 1999, it did not explode at the box office right away. Unlike some blockbuster films that make headlines on the very first weekend, this one began with modest numbers. Executives were unsure if audiences would connect with a ghost story that moved at such a slow, thoughtful pace. The marketing campaign had leaned heavily on mystery. Trailers hinted at strange things happening but did not give away the twist. Horror fans wondered if it would be scary enough, while drama lovers questioned if it was too dark. In those first days, ticket sales were steady but not record-breaking. Then something remarkable happened. Viewers who did see it started talking about it everywhere. The shocking twist ending spread by word of mouth. People urged friends not to read spoilers and instead experience the surprise for themselves. Soon, second and third viewings became common, as audiences went back to spot the clues they had missed. What began as an uncertain release turned into a cultural event. The film climbed week after week, holding strong at the box office far longer than most movies. By the end of its run, The Sixth Sense had earned hundreds of millions of dollars worldwide, far beyond what the studio had first predicted. Its success proved that slow burns could pay off and that storytelling mattered more than flashy marketing. Toni Collette wore a wig through the entire film. One of the most surprising behind-the-scenes details of The Sixth Sense is that Toni Collette, who played Cole's loving but overwhelmed mother, actually wore a wig for the entire film. At the time she was cast, Collette had cut her hair very short, almost shaved. The filmmakers felt that while her acting was powerful, the hairstyle could distract audiences from seeing her character as a working-class single mom. To solve the problem quietly, They placed her in a natural-looking wig, and few people ever noticed. Collette herself later admitted she was shocked by how much the role changed her career. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, she confessed that she had not expected much from her audition, saying, "I thought I completely blew it." Yet, Shyamalan loved the depth she brought, and her performance ended up earning her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. The wig was part of a decision to keep audiences focused on her face, her eyes, and the raw emotion she carried. In later interviews, Collette recalled how deeply she connected to the story. She said that even when reading the script for the first time on a plane, she burst into tears by the final pages. That emotional reaction drove her to put everything into the role, wig or not. Looking back, it is incredible that a detail as simple as a wig stayed invisible to most viewers, while her performance became one of the film's strongest elements. Haley Joel Osment and the car secret scene struggle. Haley Joel Osment has shared that one of the hardest scenes to film was the car scene at the end of The Sixth Sense, when Cole finally reveals his secret to his mother, Lynn Toni Collette. He said they had to do 7 takes because they felt like they weren't getting the tone right. Osment recalled being kind of rushed during that day with rain and the pressure of getting it perfect. He said that by the 7th take, there was more confidence. Shyamalan later agreed in interviews that filming emotional versus quiet moments was as difficult as filming horror or ghost scenes. He said they didn't always know ahead of time if a take truly worked until watching the dailies, the review of what was shot that day. The struggle behind what appears natural on screen is what makes the reveal so powerful when it finally unfolds. The color red. M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense is famous for its story, but many small details make the movie even more fascinating. One of the most noticeable choices is the color red. Shyamalan used red in many scenes to show when ghosts or the supernatural were nearby. For example, doors, curtains, or small objects in red often appeared just before something ghostly happened. The color was never used by accident. It was a subtle signal to the audience that something unusual was about to occur. Shyamalan said in interviews that he wanted these cues to be quiet and clever, not loud or scary like a jump scare. In the movie, Malcolm is actually dead without realizing it. To make this believable, Willis had to hide his wedding ring in every scene. He normally wore it on his left hand, so he learned to write with his right hand instead during filming. This attention to detail helped maintain the illusion that Malcolm was still alive. Fans often notice now that he rarely touches things with his left hand, which is a small but clever clue to the twist. Another interesting fact is about spirit spotters, characters who can see ghosts, like Cole and Vincent. Shyamalan wanted them to look slightly different, so he deliberately gave them white hair. This visual cue helped the audience recognize who had the gift to see spirits. It is a subtle detail, but it adds to the atmosphere and shows how carefully the director considered every visual element. Hidden details are everywhere in the movie. For example, in Cole's mother Anna's room, the number 6 is written on a curtain. Most people miss it the first time they watch, but it is another tiny clue about Malcolm's death. Shyamalan loved including these small secrets, which made the movie fun to watch again and again. Fans often pause scenes just to look for them. Shyamalan himself also appeared in the film as Dr. Hill, a minor character. He cut his own scene because he felt he was not acting well. This demonstrates his commitment to the movie. Finally, the clothes Malcolm wore were carefully chosen. All of them were items he either wore or touched the night before he died. This subtle costume detail helped reinforce the truth of his character without explicitly telling the audience.
In your dreams?
These small choices, color, props, costume, and hidden clues made The Sixth Sense more than just a scary story. They built a world where careful viewers could notice secrets and where each detail mattered to the story and the shocking twist at the end. Supernatural occurrences. When people think of The Sixth Sense, they usually remember the famous line about seeing ghosts or the shocking ending twist. What many do not know is that some of the actors said strange things that really did happen to them while working on or around the movie. These stories were not part of the script. They came from the people themselves, and they made the film feel even more spooky. Toni Collette, who played Cole's mom Lynn, once said she experienced something very odd during filming. She stayed in a hotel in Philadelphia and kept waking up in the middle of the night. Each time she woke up and looked at the clock, the numbers always showed a strange pattern. She said it was 1:11, 3:33, or 4:44. In her own words, she said, "When we were making The Sixth Sense, I had a couple of weird things happening. I would wake up at night, roll over, and look at the clock, and it was always a repeated number, 1:11, 3:33, 4:44. That started to really spook me." Tony explained that after this happened more than once, she started to feel scared. She wondered if it was just a strange coincidence or if something more mysterious was going on. The fact that it happened again and again made her think about the movie she was filming. Stories like these show that the making of The Sixth Sense was not just about cameras and acting. For some of the actors, little things happened that made them wonder if the world of the movie had followed them into real life. The movie was released on Shyamalan's birthday. One interesting fact about The Sixth Sense is the day it came out. The movie was released on August 6, 1999. That date was special for another reason. It was also the director M. Night Shyamalan's 29th birthday. Shyamalan later said he thought it was a sign that the movie was being guided. For him, it felt like the universe was giving a little nudge that the film would be something important. Before The Sixth Sense, Shyamalan had already directed 2 movies. The first was called Praying with Anger, which came out in 1992, and the second was Wide Awake, which came out in 1998. Both of these movies made a very small amount of money at the box office, about $350,000 combined. They were good experiences for Shyamalan, but they did not make him famous. Everything changed with The Sixth Sense. On its very first day in theaters, the movie made more than $8 million. This was a huge jump compared to his earlier films. The audience immediately loved the story, the performances, and the unexpected twist at the end. People were talking about the movie everywhere, and it quickly became a big hit. The coincidence of releasing the movie on Shyamalan's birthday added to the excitement. Fans and media often mention it as a fun and unusual fact about the film. For Shyamalan himself, it became a special memory, a birthday that changed his life forever. This moment shows how sometimes timing can feel like it is part of a bigger story. The movie that would become one of the most famous thrillers of the 1990s happened to arrive in theaters on the director's own birthday, and it started a career that would continue to shape Hollywood for years to come. The scene that was too realistic caused panic. One of the most memorable scenes in The Sixth Sense is when the little girl Kira Collins vomits. This role was played by Mischa Barton, who would later become famous on the show The O.C. Many people think the vomiting looked very real, and that is because Barton worked hard to make it believable. For the scene, the vomit was not real sickness. It was a mixture made from breakfast cereal. Mischa would hold it in her mouth and then spit it out on camera. Even though it was fake, performing the scene was not easy. It was messy, uncomfortable, and required multiple attempts to capture the perfect shot. Barton said that being careful with the mixture and making it look realistic took a lot of focus. The scene was also surprising for people who watched the movie later. Mischa did not tell her friends that she had appeared in the film. One of her friends went to see The Sixth Sense without knowing she would be in it. During the vomiting scene, the friend became very upset and even ran out of the theater. She did not realize that it was Barton acting, and seeing her die on screen was shocking. This small role became very memorable due to its realistic appearance. It also showed how much care and effort went into making even brief parts of the movie feel important. Shyamalan and the crew wanted every scene, no matter how short, to feel real and to keep the audience on edge. Mischa Barton's performance in this scene helped create the movie's eerie, unsettling atmosphere. Even though she was a child actor at the time, she contributed to making one of the film's most talked about moments. The Sixth Sense is more than just a scary movie. It is a story of careful planning, hard work, and amazing performances by Haley Joel Osment, Bruce Willis, Toni Collette, and the whole cast. From hidden clues to real acting fear, every detail mattered. Behind the scenes were challenges, creative choices, and small secrets that made the story unforgettable. The movie reminds viewers that great films are built on teamwork, passion, and attention to detail. The movie also teaches lessons about bravery, paying attention to small details, and the importance of teamwork. Everyone on set had to trust each other to make it succeed. Today, The Sixth Sense is still loved because of teamwork, courage, and creativity. It shows that movies are not just about acting. They are about heart, care, and paying attention to every little thing. What do you think about these revelations, and which one did you like the most? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more inspiring content like this. Before you go, kindly watch the other videos on your screen. Thanks for watching.